dito nimo ibangga sa two opposite lands of the opposite lands. Okay? So the answer will be internal diameter of the barrel, diameter of the cartridge case. This actually is only a distractor, diameter of the barrel, diameter of the cartridge case, and diameter of the firearm. So kini sila actually are considered as distractor. Nga ang correct nga answer is only letter C, internal diameter of the barrel. Okay? So timan-an nato, do not forget that, di ba? Do not forget that. Now, in the board examination kasi kana bang seldom ra actually makaano kung inani nga mga questions actually kana bang mga questions nga very simple kasi ang kasagara daw according to PRC ang kasagara daw questions is more on applications. However, for us to appreciate and for us to hit the correct answer when it comes to application questions, we need to understand the basic principle. We need to understand and we need to be very careful with the basic principle because there in the basic principles mumanto siya ang basihanan nato for us to appreciate and for us to be able to answer correctly the application. So kini siya basic ni actually nga question. Caliber in ballistics, that is internal diameter of the barrel. Sa number 2, smokeless propellant version of express cartridges are commonly known as. Okay? So, smokeless propellant. Diba? Kung mag-iskutag smokeless propellant, this is form of smokeless powder. Diba? Version of express cartridge are commonly known as, una, nitro, diba? Blast express, smokeless express, and paper express. Diba? Again, three of these are distractor and only one is the correct answer. So, what is your choice? Is it letter A? Is it letter B? Is it letter C? Or is it letter D? Okay, so we will answer. The answer is nitro. Okay, nitro. Nitro, that is letter A. Nitro express. Gina-express in nitro. Diba? This is the explanation. Okay. Based on the explanation, when smokeless powders come into existence, express cartridges are redesigned for more powerful propellant. Result in nitro express cartridge. Diba? Nitro. From the word nitrocellulose. Diba? Since it is smokeless powder. Smokeless powder. Okay? So, duha na. Nitro o kalibre. Kung isgutan ang kalibre, we have to measure from two opposite land. That is the internal diameter of the barrel kung mag-isgutag kalibre. Okay? Now, another question. Actually, we already tackle ato din naisgutan. A 12-bore shotgun. Sa question, a 12-bore shotgun has a barrel diameter of 0.29 inches. How many lead balls does it have? First choice, we have 12. Okay. Second choice, we have 24. Third choice, we have LG6. And fourth choice, we have bore doesn't indicate the number of leads. Okay. So, sa 12-bore shotgun daw, pila ka leads or pila ka shots ang nasa sulod. Does it have 12-bore? 0.29 inches. Okay. So, the answer actually is 12. The answer actually is 12. Okay. Explanation. The answer is 12 for 12 bore. A bore means 12 round lead, 12 bore nagpasabot og 12 round leads balls whose weight is equal to 1 pounds. That is why katong presentation nako ganina gibutang dito 1 over 12, di ba? If you still remember. Means 12 round lead balls whose weight is equal to 1 pound. So, ang 12 bore means 12 round. 12 bore means 12 round. Okay, 12 bore means 12 round. That is the explanation. Which one has smaller caliber? Which one has smaller caliber? 20 gauge shotgun or 12 gauge shotgun? 20 gauge na, 20 gauge shotgun. Or 12 gauge shotgun, di ba? So kung magisugot tag 12 o 20, nagpasabot nga, of course, when it comes to figure, taas ang 20 as compared to 12. Di ba? Okay? Which has a smaller caliber, 20 gauge shotgun or 12 gauge shotgun? First choice, we have 12 gauge shotgun. Ikaduha nga choice, we have 12 gauge shotgun. Ikatulo nga choice, we have gauge can tell about the caliber. And ikaupat nga choice, both have the same caliber. So what do you think? Unsa may dako o kalibre, ang 12 gauge or ang 20 gauge shotgun? What do you think? Just guess kung unsa inyo ang answer. Okay. Ang answer actually is 20 gauge shotgun. 20 gauge shotgun. The higher the value of the gauge of shotgun, lowers the caliber. Di ba? Lowers the caliber. Ang pangutana, kung unsa sa duha or asa sa duha ang small caliber. Ang gamay o kalibre. Di ba? Ang 12 gauge shot, 20 gauge shotgun or 12 gauge shotgun. Di ba? Pariharan ni sila gauge 20 or ang 12. So ang answer was or ang answer is 20 gauge. Kung isgutan ang kalibre, magkataas ang value sa gauge, magka-lower ang kalibre sa shotgun. Okay? Atong timan-an ayaw ninyo kalimti. Just have it probably sink in your memory that the higher the value of gauge, the lower the caliber. The smaller the value, the higher is the caliber. That is for shotgun. That is for shotgun. So, magkataas ang gauge, magkamubo ang figure sa kalibre, magkamubo ang caliber. When we talk about caliber, magkamay ang gauge, magkataas ang caliber. So, that is for shotgun. Okay? Do not forget that. Please do not forget that. Basic yun. Number 5, assertion A, meaning claim. When we talk about assertion, so may binisaya sa assertion. Bang iyahang statement or claim or whatsoever. Okay? Kung mag-isgatag assertion, assertion A, yan siya. The bigger is the caliber, the more powerful is the ammunition. Diba? Assertion niya, ang assertion, statement. The bigger is the caliber, the more powerful the ammunition. Unsay rason, bigger caliber means wider in diameter of the ammunition. Diba? Balik ta sa assertion. Ang assertion nag-ingon nga the bigger is the caliber, the more powerful the ammunition. Diba? Ganina atong gisgutan ang gauge sa shotgun. Kung ang gauge sa shotgun is taas, ang reciprocate nga kinibang caliber will also be low. Ubos ang iyang kalibre. Kung gamay ang iyang gauge, of course, taas ang iyang kalibre. Diba? So, kini karon, it's still about talking about caliber. However, ang iyang kaparis is the power of the ammunition. Power of ammunition. Ganina, naghisgot og gauge og caliber. Karon nagisgot ta og caliber og ang iyahang capacity sa ammunition or the power of ammunition. Assertion was the bigger is the caliber, the more powerful the ammunition. That is the assertion. Reason, ang rason daw, bigger caliber means wider the diameter of the ammunition. Choices. Of course, again, isa ani nga choice is the correct answer, and then the other three were just a distractor of the correct answer. Okay, so choice is letter A. Both A, which is the assertion, and R, which is the reason, are correct. It actually needs analysis and analysis. Okay. And then choice letter B, we have A is correct, assertion is correct that bigger is the caliber, the powerful the ammunition. However, the reason is incorrect. The bigger the caliber means the wider in diameter of ammunition. So that is the letter B. Pag abot nato sa letter C, ingon ang letter C nga ang iyang assertion og ang iyang reason kini bang sayop, di ba? Ang assertion ug ang reason is sayop. Both A and R, assertion and reason are incorrect. And then letter D, A is incorrect but R is correct. So assertion is correct ang choice sa letter D while R is correct. Now, take note that we are talking about caliber, di ba? Calibre sa armas when it relates to how powerful or the power of ammunition, di ba? Unsa ka kusga, unsa ka power ang ammunitions. Okay? So what would be your choice? What unsa inyong choice? A, B, C, and D. Ganina naghisgot ta og gauge. Naghisgot ta og gauge. Okay? Karon hisgot ta og kalibre og ang power sa ammunition. Okay? So what would be your answer? The answer is letter D. Letter D. Sa letter D, the assertion is incorrect. But the reason is correct. Explanation. Ang kalibre sa armas is not a determining factor of how powerful the ammunition is. Okay? Ang kalibre daw sa armas wala dili siya usa sa determining factor or dili siya factor sa pag-determine kung unsa ka powerful ang ammunition. Di ba? Ganina naghisgot ta gauge. Kung taas ang figure sa gauge, mubo ang figure sa kalibre. Kung mubo ang kinibang figure sa gauge, taas ang kalibre. Wala siya maghisgot og ammunition. So ang answer adto nga question kining atong gihisgutan is this. Ang explanation, ang kalibre sa armas dili siya factor to determine how powerful the ammunition is. It mainly depends on the propellant charge, quantity, and composition. Diba? What is that propellant charge? Meaning, ang iyahang composition sa iyahang propellant or the gunpowder and gunpowder. Diba? So, ang determination for us to say that particular ammunition is powerful, nagdepende sa sulod sa or content. Nagdepende sa propellant charge, quantity, meaning kadaghanon, and composition. Okay? Meaning to say, ang kalibre sa or ang power sa ammunition or ang kalibre is that determining factor on how powerful the ammunition is. Wala ba mo malibog? Or nalibog na? Caliber is not a determining factor on how powerful the ammunition is. Di ba? It is mainly depends on the propellant charge quantity and composition. So meaning kung magisgot ta kung unsa ka powerful ang ammunition, ang kalibre sa armas wala diha magdeterminar kung dili ang sulod or ang propellant charge or ang quantity and composition of that ammunition. Okay? Ganina nagisgot ta og gauge. Again, balik-balikon gid ako ang gauge. Gakataas ang figure sa gauge, gauge 20, gakagamay ang kalibre. Gakaubos ang gauge figure sa gauge, gakataas ang kalibre. So that is purely caliber. Karon nagisgot ta og kini bang power of the ammunitions, meaning unsa ka kusga ang ammunition. Ang kalibre dili siya determining factor or dili siya factor to determine how powerful the ammunition is. Ang pagdetermine sa kung unsa ka powerful ang ammunition nagdepende sa propellant charge quantity and composition. Okay? Kadali kayo ha, for a while. Okay, napa ba mo diha? Hello, good morning. So that's it. When we talk about caliber. Ganina naghisgot tag gauge, karon naghisgot tag caliber. Now, marking such as letters and or numbers on the base of the cartridge is called. So again kani siya distractors ni siya. Distractors. Letters and numbers on the base. Katong sa base nga portion sa cartridge, itawag daw siya og una, coded cartridge. Ikaduha, we have heat stamp. Ikatulo, we have caliber marks. And ikaupat, we have both 2 and 3. Okay. So the answer basically, we have letter B. Diba? Heat stamps are impressed on the marking present on the base of the cartridge case letters and numbers. So ang answer adto was letter B, heat stamp. Okay, heat stamp. That is for number 6. Okay. Okay. Now we will proceed. Okay, those are just sample question. Ang sample questions ganina naghisgot og gauge og caliber. Okay? Gauge and caliber. Now we will proceed to primer. That is the definition of primer. Component of cartridge case used for igniting propellant. Component of cartridge case used for igniting propellant. Of course, this is the composition. The potassium chlorate, the antimony sulfide, and the fulminate, which is 32%, 23%, and 45% respectively. Potassium, antimonate, and the fulminate composition of a priming compound. Primer. Diba? Priming compound. Kung magisgot o gunpowder, it was always credited to the name Bertold Schwartz, di ba? Ang iyahang real name was Konstantin Alklitsin, di ba? Si Bertold Schwartz. Si Bertold Schwartz actually was a Franciscan monkey in town of Preborz, Germany. So Bertold Schwartz, si Bertold Schwartz, kung isgutan ang gunpowder. He was the inventor of gunpowder. That's why we have the term gunpowder residue. So by mga factors to determine the quantity of gunpowder residues in consideration of the what we call kanang unsa nang examination gani paraffin casting, di Diba? Paraffin casting katong kamot bitaw nimo, kamot sa suspect let us say to determine whether or not kini bang nagpabuto ba siya o wala, di ba? Of course, usa sa mga consideration will be the humidity. Uh, Nagpasabot unsa may kalainan, kung init kaayo expected, kini bang oftentimes the claim nga kung init kaayo magpabuto kag armas, expected that the unborn gunpowder residue. What is that unborn? Katong wala masunog bitaw, muna siyang i-determine sa kamot sa firer kung nagpabuto, whether or not nagpabuto ba siya o wala. We have the unborn gunpowder residue. So may factors to determine the quantity of the unborn gunpowder residues. Will, of course, we have the humidity. Ikaduha, what is that humidity? Kung ulan-ulan, kung init kaayo, of course, kung ulan-ulan, there will be more unborn gunpowder residue. Ikaduha rather, we have the kanabang direction of the wind, di ba? Nga posible nga wala kay deposit sa kamot sa pagpabuto sa fire considering of the direction of the wind. Kana siya akong hisgutan when we talk about the paraffin casting, di ba? Which was according to Fortune katong sa University of the Philippines, ingon siya nga ang paraffin casting ba na? Paraffin wax kana nga examination kana bang obsolete ngano man, you cannot actually preserve the reaction of the chemicals, the after reaction of the chemicals kung huwad na dito sa paraffin wax, whether or not ano ba. So that is one of the consideration. Gunpowder, since we are talking about gunpowder, we equate with that of the examination, the what we called unborn gunpowder residue. Unborn gunpowder residue. Okay? So naadya si Bertold Schwartz. Ang iyang real name was Konstantin Alklitzin. He was a Franciscan monk in town of Fribourg, Germany. Black powder. This is actually the black powder. Jet black and rather shiny grains, although black powder has been used for about 6 centuries, and through improved methods, manufacturers have naturally led to greater efficiency in action. Its composition has renamed practically the same in all countries. We have black powder. And then, of course, this is the composition of black powder. We have more on charcoal. No, not more on charcoal. We have more on potassium nitrate. And of course, we have also charcoal. And then we have the sulfur, the 10%, 15%, and we have the 75% to make it 100%. Okay? The composition of black powder. Bullet. Again, ang definition sa bullet, that is a projectile. Profiled projectile firearms. A metallic or non-metallic cylindrical projectile originated from the word bulle, which means a small bull. In common parlance, a bullet may be called as what we call slug. Diba? When it hits already the target, basically, it is already considered as slug, or when it kana bang nigawas na sa barrel sa armas, it is already considered as the slug. Excuse me. Okay, so that is bullet equated with the word slug. Okay. Actually, kita na siguro mo anak tanan, di ba? Depende, lahi o gano. Of course, kung isgutan na to, just want to emphasize, di ba? Kita ninyo na sharp-pointed, di ba? Sharp-pointed. Kasagara, sharp-pointed nga bullets or projectile, of course, designed for long range, designed for long arm, di ba? However, kini nga mga hitsura, round nose, di ba? We have wad or semi-wad, di ba? These are designed actually for short mugbo tanaw, because basically kung magisgot ta og kana bang long range, sharp pointed siya, considering pang long range siya, at the same time when it comes to kini bang air resistance, of course when we compare this to round nose, basically ang round nose has more air resistance as compared to sharp pointed. Okay, so this is it. Round nose, we have wad cutter. So these are actually the different types of bullets or cartridge. Okay, lead bullet. Sabay binisaya sa lead bullet, tingga, di ba? Lead bullet. Jacketed bullet from the word jacket. Ginaputos, ano, di ba? And other types of bullets, we have armor perching bullets from its word alone, di ba? Pambangag, tracer bullets, pang trace. In fact, muna siya ang ipa according to military people ang hindi ba ang tracer? Is it a tracer bullet? Ilang gamiton during night time. Okay. And then of course we have incendiary that will cause explosion, re-explosion after it hits the target, and it will cause basically fire. And then we have the dum-dum bullet, also known as the hollow point. Di ba? Kung magisgotag dum-dum bullets, di ba? That is hollow point bullet, known as hollow point or soft point bullets. Okay, jacketed, lead, tingga, jacketed, naay jacket, armor perching, pambangag, tracer by its word alone. And we have incendiary bullet, and we also have the dum-dum bullet, which is equated with the word hollow point or soft point. Okay? Lead bullets, di ba? Muna siyang itsura, di ba? Kita naman siguro gud mo tanan ana, di ba? Lead bullet, di ba? We have jacketed. This is the core, di ba? Jacketed. Meaning giputos siya, coated siya. Orang nag-jacket ba? Coated siya. That is why jacketed or jacketed bullets. Okay? Other bullets classification, we have round nose, di ba? Diba? Semi-round, still lead bullet. And then of course that is the dissection, di ba? Okay? And then sharp pointed. And then wad type. Ang wad type kani siya, kanay nga portion, di ba? So naay bangag tunga-tunga. Designed for handgun, designed for short arm. Okay. And then semi-wad, di ba? Semi-wad type. Full jacketed, meaning full jacket, metal bullet, iputos gid siya maayo. That is of course we have the term jar off. Jar off, di ba? Ang jar off, that is the description of jar off. A safety test for firearm in which the firearm with the safety off is dropped into the surface to see if it will fire. That is jar off, di ba? It's a test of a firearm. Jar off. Test for firearm wherein ang firearm naka-off ang iyang safety, and then it is it is going to drop sa ground whether it will fire or not. That is jar off. Safety test. And then of course we have armor perching bullets rather. Okay, that is the description. Okay, that is how it looks like. Diba? Armor piercing bullets, meaning pambangag sa armory or sa armored piercing bullets. And then of course we have the tracer bullets. The flash of the smoke from this burning permits flight of the bullet to be seen, especially at night. So during night time, that is tracer. Gamiton daw na siya sa mga sundalo during combat operation nighttime. That is this tracer bullet looks like. And then of course we have incendiary. This is how incendiary bullets look like. Incendiary bullets. explosive or fragmentary bullets, di ba? That is how explosive and fragmentary bullets looks like. Okay, so how barrel is made? Diba? Yun sa paghimo ang barrel. Actually, there are different tools nga gigamit sa paghimo sa barrel. Different types of it's not actually what we will discuss is not actually kung unsaon pagbangag ang armas, but what we will discuss is ang tool, di ba? Unsay mga gipanggamit sa pagbangag sa buka sa armas, di ba? So naatay brooch gang, di ba? Brooch gang. Kung magiskutag brooch gang, it's a tool actually. It's a tool having a series of cutting edges. Series of cutting edges meaning sunod-sunod nga cutting edges of slightly increasing. So gikan sa gamay padako, spiral grooves used to cut spiral grooves in a barrel. Okay? Used to cut spinal grooves in a barrel. So mo na siya ang brooch gang nga tool. Brooch gang. Kung magisgutag series of cutting edges nga aron pagbangag sa buka sa armas, brooch gang na siya, which has a slightly increasing in height. Slightly increasing in height. Nagpasabot nga gikan sa gamay, spiral, meaning patuyok siya. Okay, patuyok siya. Used to cut the spiral grooves in a barrel. Brooch gang na siya. It's a kind of tool that is used to cut or that is used to make the barrel of the gun. Brooch gang. Brooch gang. Aside sa brooch gang, napod siya ay brooch single. Diba? It's still a family of brooch. Kaso lang, single lang siya. Ang brooch gang tool is a series of cutting edges series. Kani siya single. Meaning to say, non-adjustable rifling cutter which cuts all grooves simultaneously. Okay? And is in series of increasing dimension until desired groove depth is achieved. Do not forget, let us think that please try to sink it in your mind nga ang brooch single gamit lang niya ana is for the cutting of kinibang groove, the depth of groove, brooch single. Ang brooch gang series of cutting tool is slightly increasing in a spiral. Okay, that it's brooch gang and brooch single. Okay. This is how brooch single tool is look like. Brooch single tool. Brooch single tool looks like. Diba? Ang iyahang purpose actually is to cut only the groove, the depth of the groove. Diba? The depth of the groove. Again, balik ko na to, ang depressed nga portion sa barrel sa armas, groove na siya. Kung tan-aw nimo sa lilion nimo sa buka sa armas, grooves na siya. Ang elevated nga portion kini bang unsay ngalan na ang elevated nga portion lance na siya. Unsaon pag measure sa kalibre sa armas, dito ta magkuha og kini bang unsay ngalan na basis from two opposite lands which are the elevated portion of the cylindrical surface of the barrel. Okay? So that is brooch single. Brooch single. Okay? Brooch gang tool. So katong ingon ako, excuse ka dali. Brooch gang tool. Diba? Brooch gang tool. So muna siya ang brooch gang tool. Gikan sa gamay, it's a cylindrical actually. Gikan sa gamay, okay? Iyahang gikan sa gamay nga portion kani din nakataas until pataas. The cutting motion gikan sa buka sa armas kini din portion cutting motion pa on that particular direction ang cutting motion, di ba? Okay? That is brute gang tool. Kato ganina, that was brute single. Brute single. Again, ang brute single, gamito na siya sa pag... It's a tool that is used to cut the depth of the groove of the firearms. Okay? Button. Hardened metal plug called button with a rifle cross-section configuration. It pushed and pulled through a drilled and rimmed barrel so as to cool from spinal grooves to the desired depth of twist. Okay? Of course, this button is another tool. And then, of course, we also have the hook. Diba? The hook. Cutting tool which has the shape and only cut one grooves at the time. So kung ang brute single iyahang kini bang simultaneously cut the groove, the depth of the groove. Ang hook is tool gihapon siya which has a hook shape, murag kauit, and only cut one grooves at the time. Pang ano gihapon siya? Pang ano gihapon siya sa grooves, but it only cuts a grooves one at a time. And then of course we have scrape cutting tool which cut two opposite grooves at a time. So kini sila completely opposite. If hook is only one at a time, ang scrape is two at a time. Two opposing grooves. Katong brute single, para to siya sa kalawom sa kalawom sa grooves. And then of course we have swag, internal mandrid. Kung magisgutag swag or swades or whatsoever, that is equated with the word hammer forging or external hammering. Diba? Internal mandrel with rifling configuration which forms rifling in a barrel by means of external hammering. That is hammer forging. Okay, hammer forging. Kung magisgutag external hammering, that is equated with the word swag or swades. Okay? So we have button, we have hook, and we have the scrape, and we have the swag. These are actually tools used to cut or used to make a hole on the barrel. Okay? That is button. Button yan. Okay? This is also a hook. Diba? Uh, hook type. Okay? Kinesia. Okay? So, marks found on the bullets. So may marks nga kakakita sa bullets. So muni siya ang timailhan o muni siya ang consideration in the conduct of examination of the bullets. By the way, kung isgutan ang examination sa firearms and as well as specifically the bullets and the cartridge case, the principles of what we call juxtaposition, diba? The principle of juxtaposition is the same, is also applied. Diba? Juxtaposition. What is that juxtaposition? Juxtaposition means to say that same level of magnification in a bullet comparator or a bullet comparison microscope. Diba? So kung magisguta og comparison, it is we are referring to the question and we are referring to standard. Again, kung magisgutag question bullets or question cartridge case or question firearm, pareha ra gyapon. Actually, ang prinsipyo is pareha ra gyapon sa question document. We have that question, meaning to say kung magisgutag question kana bang under standard, kung magisgutag question kung isgutan nato ang firearms identification, bullets and the cartridge case. Of course, katong mga cartridge case and as well as slug or bullets or firearms nga na-extract in the kana bang crime scene. Diba? Katong nakita sa crime scene or katong na-gather sa crime scene as evidence. Kung magisgutag standard, katong kana bang armas nga basically nakuha sa alleged perpetrator, or a cartridge case nga nakuha dito sa alleged perpetrator gipabuto sa armas. Now, the principle of juxtaposition, di ba? Do not forget the juxtaposition, same level, diba? The same level of magnification, meaning to say nga kung ang question is of that level of magnification imong giset sa bullet comparison microscope, on the other side the standard will also be the same. So that is juxtaposition. Now, we have marks found on the bullets. We have landmarks. Marks of the, landmarks. Kung mag-iskutag landmarks, katong ingon ako, opposite to siya. Nga kung ang kanabang forensic examiner or the firearm examiner, opposite siya, tanaw niya, ang landmarks, if it is the elevated portion, pag abot sa bullet, that is the depressed portion. So landmarks, characteristic actually in the conduct of bullet comparison or firearms examination, it is actually all about striations and any marks, strange marks, di ba? That is why we have to be very careful on the marks that is found on bullets or marks that are found rather in a cartridge case. So we have number one, landmarks, of course caused by lands, ingravation of lands. We have groove marks caused by the grooves. Okay, skid marks, when a bullet enters a rifle bore from stationary position, is forced abruptly into the rifling. Its natural tendency is to go straight before encountering irregular rifling. So skid marks yan. Skid marks. And of course, we have slipped marks. Skid marks can also be is a term used in traffic accident investigation. Diba? If I am not mistaken, gamit Japanese siya sa ano. Ang skid marks can also be used as term used to describe the marks that are found on a bullets, diba? On a bullet rather. Okay? Okay? Actually, wala na is, diba? On and then, of course, we have slippage marks. Bullet fired from a worn-out barrels, oily barrels, and slightly oversized slippage mark. That is why, according to most of katong mga shooter enthusiasts, katong mga mahilig og armas, when you do practice firing, it is more appropriate to use reloaded, or rather katong lead katong naa sa firing range nga dili katong hard bull. Kasi kung maggamit ka og hard bullets, basically just imagine how many rounds of bullets imong ipagawa sa buka sa imong armas, and then hard bull, jacketed hard bull, that will cause slightly probably oversize of the barrels. So that will cause actually later on the what we call slippage mark. Slippage mark, gikan na siya sa worn out barrel, meaning ni dako nagka oily barrels, and then of course slightly oversized slippage. So kung mangis ko tag marks found on a bullet, given na siya una, landmarks and groove marks. Again, kung magis ko tag landmarks and groove marks, kanilang siya para lang sa mga rifle nga firearm. Sa smooth bore firearms, again, wala na to, di ba? Wala na ni siya. Kay wala may lands and grooves. And then of course we have the slippage mark. Di ba? That is for marks found on a bullet. Di ba? And of course we also have shaving marks. Most commonly, these marks are found on the bullet fired from a revolver, diba? Due to poor alignment of a cylinder with the bore. Diba? Shaving marks. Ang shaving marks, makita na siya actually or ma-determine siya kasagara kung ang gigamit is or was a revolver. Kanang poor alignment sa iyang cylinder with the barrel of the gun. Diba? Kabalumanta nga ang pistola ang iyahang dili man siya in a form of magazine, form of cylinder. Kada kablit nimo, of course, at the same time the cylinder will be pushed for another round, and then subsequently kana siyang projectile will align to the barrel. When there would be a poor alignment, kung na ay poor alignment of the cylinder with the bore or the bullet, or with the barrel of the firearm, of course there is what we call shaving marks. Timan-an na to, timan-an ninyo. Do not forget this. I know nga inyo na ning gitagod-tagod sa inyong discussions, but again, for the sake of review, shaving marks are marks found on the bullet, particularly on a revolver, due to what we call poor alignment. Poor alignment, shaving marks. Okay? Marks found on a cartridge case. So kato ang consideration. So if uh, a forensic or a ballistic examiner will conduct an examination, particularly on using the bullet comparison microscope. Basically, those are his considerations, or those are the things that he needs to determine kung ang iyahang gi-examine was a bullet, or was a bullet, or a bullets, or a bullet rather, di ba? So mo to siya ang i-considered. However, we also have marks found on a cartridge case, meaning nibuto na, di ba? Par cartridge case. Cartridge case na lang, dili na siya cartridge, kay typically kung cartridge, mga lipat-lipat nga questions bitaw, cartridge case, cartridge. Kung magis ko tag cartridge case, ano na siya? Wala na siya ay projectile. Wala na siya ay bullet, diba? So number one consideration, kung ikaw forensic ballistic examiner or ikaw ballistic examiner, you have to look for the firing pin impression. This is very basic. The firing pin impression, basically because of course we have that kind of characteristics, di ba? Kung kusog kayo ang firing pin, definitely it will mark also a very deep marking sa lubot sa bullet, or sa katong sa iyahang primer cap, di ba? So that has a distinct characteristics. That has a distinct characteristic kung imo na siyang i-view sa microscope. Kung imong i-view sa microscope, of course, from the perspective of the what we call juxtaposition, of course, the same level of magnification sa question o sa standard, you will really see the different. You will really see the different. Kung unsa ang asa ang lawom, unsa asa dapit nga area ang naigo, or asa nga portion sa ang igo. That will mark the same imong makita, labi na gyud kung ang armas nga imong gi subject for examination mao ang armas nga gigamit in the perpetration of the offense. Okay? So another one, we have breath space marking. Di ba? Unang-una consideration, we have firing pin impression. Ang ikaduha, we have breath space marking. Negative impression of the breath space of the firearm found on the head of the cartridge case after firing. Di ba? Consider this, head of the cartridge case, uluhan nga portion sa cartridge case after firing. That is breath space marking. We will kana bang see the illustration later. Okay? That is breath space marking. Breath space marking. Okay? Head of the cartridge case after firing. Breath space markings yan. Breath space markings. And then of course we have chamber marks. Individual microscopic place upon the cartridge case by chamber wool as a result of any of the following. Okay, that is these are actually the consideration. Oh, now we have chambering, expanding during primer, and extraction. Pag extricate, meaning pag this is for automatic, by the way, automatic firearm. Kung mag-iskutag chambering, expanding during firing, and extraction. Diba? So naadiha ang chamber marks. Okay? Okay. Excuse me. Napa ba mo diha? Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Nami-nami, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Napamedro, sir.
Chamber marks. Di ba? Muna siya ang chamber marks. Okay? Chamber marks are mostly found around the body of the cartridge case. Fired cartridge case. Di ba? Fired na yan. Fired. Fired cartridge case. Case caused by irregularities of nips inside the walls of the chamber. Di ba? So, ang chamber marks, dinini mo makita sa kilid. Okay? Side view. Okay? Side view. Chamber marks yan. Chamber marks. Nasa kilid. Di ba? During chambering. Basically, because sa inyong naobserbahan, for pistol, pag push sa magazine dito sa iyang chamber, di ba? Balik ang naay backward movement sa kanabang firearm sa iyang sa ngalan na sa firearm. And then pag forward movement iyahang kinibang hapitan ang bala. Pag paslak dito sa barrel sa firearm sa chamber, of course, muna siya ang expected na mahitabo na ay chamber marks yan na makita sa cartridge case. Chamber marks. Na just to ang extractor marks or extractor claw marks na nasa kilid, di ba? Extractor nasa kilid sa rim ang extractor, di ba? So these are the extractor marks, and we have the chambering marks. Okay, extractor o chamber marks. Extractor o chamber marks. So kung ikaw examiner, kung mangita ka or ang imong itanawon is chamber marks na sa kilid sa empty cartridge, kasagara ang chamber marks. Or dili kasagara, diha gid makita ang chamber marks sa kilid sa empty cartridge. Kini siya fired na ni siya. Okay, fired. Ug ang extractor marks naa sa kilid sa rim ang extractor marks. Ang cause sa extractor marks because of the claw, orang kauit, di ba? Nga diin mekanismo siya nga iyang i-extract, diya makita sa kilid. Okay? Now, okay. Breach space mark. Diba? Muna siya ang breach space mark. Diba? This is heavy lift. Nasa kilid, murag negative impression. Diba? Breach space yan. Nasa kilid. Nasa kanabang nasa base nga portion. Diba? Kani siya. This is the breach space mark. Diba? Breach space mark. Breach space. So we have chamber marks. We have extractor marks. Ang extractor marks, ang nag-cause sa extractor is the claw. Extractor claw mo'y hinungdan sa marking ana nga cartridge case. Okay? Ang breach space mark, that is the negative impression nga naa sa kanabang base nga portion sa cartridge case. So this would be the say nga na microscopic presentation for the breach space mark. Extractor marks caused by extractor just ahead of rim, di ba? And then ejector marks caused by ejector near the rim, di ba? Kani siya. We have the ejector mark na diya sa kilid, yeah. And then extractor mark caused by extractor claw na din di ba? Firing pin impression, firing pin mark na diya sa tunga, di ba? Makita. Of course, sa firing pin mark, diya mo igo siya sa firing pin cap, di ba? Actually sa actual nga examination, kini bang not necessarily sa tunga magyud mo igo ang firing pin. So usahin and of course we also have the breach space marking. Breach space marking. Head pin marks, di ba? And then we have the firing pin imprint na kanina sa tunga sa this is for center fire cartridge. Okay? head casing, di ba? If the nose of the firing pin has manufacturing imperfection or damage, this potentially unique characteristic can be impressed on the metal of the primer or rim of the cartridge case. So naa siya unique. Okay? So these are the different extractor marks. So naanapod siya. I do not know kung maklaro ba diya sa inyo. Extractor marks. Marks found mostly at the extracting groove of the fired cartridge case. They are caused by its withdrawal from the chamber. Diba? Backward, kini bang backward movement of the sige nga part sa firearm gani. Dito si caliber 45 ka na mo. Frame. Okay? Frame sa firearm. Okay? Now, we have extractor marks. Okay? Kini is basic na. We have the extractor marks. Makita na sa kilid. Diba? Extractor marks. Diba? And then we have the firing pin impression, breech space marking, and we have the chamber marks, and then of course we have the magazine. Ang chamber marks pwede pod makita diri sa kilid actually. Diba? Okay? Kini siya nga linya actually. Magazine marks, di ba? This is for automatic rifle. Okay? So I hope nga inyong natagan og differentiation ang extractor, ejector, o ang firing pin impression. These are actually the most consideration. Consideration when a forensic ballistic examiner or when a ballistic examiner has to examine a fired cartridge. Diba? Muna siya ang basic nga determination. Diba? Kakuha sila crime scene kakuha sila og armas sa crime scene. And then nakakuha pod sila og kana bang slug. Nakakuha sila og empty cartridge. Of course, one of the consideration is to establish whether or not kanang firearm nga nakuha sa crime scene mauba na siya ang gigikanan sa slug and at the same time sa empty cartridges nga nakita pod sa crime scene, which later we will be able to discuss. Okay? So extractor marks, these are the extractor marks. Okay? Firing pin mark, ejector mark, extractor mark are specifically indentation mark. Indentation mark. When you say indentation, mura ba og nilaum, diba? Indentation mark. These are actually, diba? The chambering, diba? Liko na ko, chambering. The extractor marks na sa kilid na po, diba? Breech space marking na nasa head and then firing pin impression and the ejector marks, the negative kilid. Bolts and marks from expansion into feed ramps ni bulgy gamay or ni dako gamay due to the expansion of gases. Okay? Striated action marks include chamber marks, shear marks, firing pin. Diba? So these are actually the basic consideration when a forensic ballistic when a ballistic examiner has to examine empty cartridge. Extractor marks, chambering marks, breech space block markings, ejector marks, firing pin impression, which is the number one consideration. Diba? Kasi ang amantay gitawag og class characteristic and individual characteristics. Okay? Which we will be able to tackle later. Okay? Now, class characteristics. So, naanata sa class characteristics. Kung magis ko tag class characteristics, again, balik ko na ko, I know nga in gitagod-tagod na ninyo maayos sa inyong instructor in forensic ballistics. Kana bang inyo na ning gi-dissect o maayo. But for the sake again of discussions and for the sake again of kana bang refreshing our mind for purposes of review, of course, we will again discuss. Okay? Kung magis ko tag class characteristic, mo ni siya ang kana bang kana bang characteristics nga ma-determine even prior sa manufacturing of the gun. Kasi Class A, di ba? We have say for example kini bang caliber 45, Colt 45, Remington, Smith and Wesson. For Smith and Wesson, kana bang Smith and Wesson brand of the firearm mo ni siya ang iyang class characteristics. Okay? So, number one, kung iskatag class characteristics, mo na siya ang kini bang caliber. Diba? Kung sa ganitong caliber, ang kadak-on sa buka sa armas wala mag or ang caliber nagdetermine sa kadak-on sa buka sa armas. However, kung unsa ka powerful ang ammunition, wala siya magdepende sa kalibre sa armas, kundi nagdepende siya sa quantity o sa composition sa propellant or sa gunpowder sa maong ammunition. Meaning to say, kung taas ang kalibre o taas ang caliber, wala magpasabot nga powerful siya. Nagdepende sa klase sa ammunition. Katupod ganina atong gisgutan nga sa shotgun, ang gauge sa shotgun or ang gauge sa armas, magkataas ang figure, magkamubok ang kalibre. Magkagamay ang figure o magkagamay gauge 20, mas mubuk siya kung isgutan ang kalibre, equivalent caliber sa gauge 12. So gamay, taas ang figure, gamay ang caliber. Gamay ang figure or gauge, taas ang caliber. Okay. So, ini bang una nga class characteristic, we have caliber. Caliber. Okay. Kalibre sa armas. Ikaduha, kana bang we have number of lands and groups. Number of lands and groups. Pila kabuk lands, pila kabuk groups. Okay? Okay. Pila kabuk lands, pila kabuk groups. That is determinable. Determinable na siya. Point in even prior. Kita si for example, the army type or the Webley type, pila ka lance, unsa pong klase ang iyang lance, it is narrow or wide or kini bang depth sa kalaumpod. Of course, we can always kini bang determine. And of course, we have direction of the twist of the what we call pitch of rifling. Direction of the twist. Ang direction of the twist, it is only either right or left or right twisting. Ang twisting, tungod na siya, ang twisting sa projectile while inside the barrel of the firearm is caused by the presence of lance and grooves. Are caused by the presence of lance and grooves rather. Okay, so direction of the twist. And then, of course, we have, diba? Width of grooves, actually, kabagaon ni siya, dili ni siya width of grooves. Typographical error. Widths kabagaon sa grooves, unsa kabaga. And then, of course, we have the depth of grooves. And, of course, we have pitch of rifling. Ang pitch of rifling has something to do with twisting. Diba? Twisting. Okay? Either it is right or left hand twist. So, on characteristic, mo ni siya ang pwede ma-determine even before sa manufacturing of the gun. We have caliber, we have lance on grooves, we have number of lance, we have direction of the twist, we have width of the grooves, okay? And then, of course, we have depth of grooves, kalaum, and then we have pitch of rifling. Okay, pitch of rifling. Now, na ako'y video, akong i-share sa inyo ha. I don't know kung ma-share ba ni siya. This is more on the, makita ninyo ang reaction sa chambering. Inyo naman siguro ning kaka-imagine or kakakita. Just again, for the sake of review, I just would like to have this shared to all of you. Okay? Wala lili man. Dili man siya ma-view. Anyway, we will nara.
Mabasa ka. Cake. Nganong cake man? Gusto ka i-cake ta karon?
Lami man.
Lami.
Anak ko.
Nganong cake man? Nganong cake man?
Di, ang cake man gyud kay more on flavor o more on vitamins.
More vitamins. So ga vitamins ka.
Oh,
Di mga itsura magdi man.
oh, sa vitamins.
Aga unsa nga vitamins mo ginainom?
Magsisilid. Magsisilid.
Again, that is the action for chambering. So actually, that is the illustration on how chambering, how extractor marks be impressed on the empty cartridge as well as the action of the extractor, ejector. About about we were talking about rather ganina individual class characteristic. This time we will tackle individual characteristics. So ang individual characteristics na ay class napod sa individual. Ang individual characteristic again and again this is determinable only after the firearm has been made. So meaning right after ang firearm na manufacture na asya'y gitawag na tog individual characteristics. Maski na asya'y kana bang class characteristic, however ang pag-manufacture sa firearm out of perfection, diba? Meaning caused by imperfections, meaning dili perfect. There is the what we called kinibang individual characteristics, strains, di ba? Some forensic ballistic examiner kinibang explain that kasagara pod sa individual na rinungdan o rinungdan aning mga buto. Diba? Antir, diba? Wear antir. So of course, sige gamiton, basically it will have rather na siya'y matawag na tog individual wear and tear. Of course, we have the abuse, mutilations, corrosions, and other fortuitous cases, which is beyond the control of the gun owner or the manufacturer. Okay? So again, ang individual characteristics, these are characteristics nga pwede nato i-determine or ma-determine sa kinibang examiner or ma-determine sa examiner after the manufacturing of the gun. Okay? So type of rifling. Diba? So just familiarize these types of rifling. That is why ang types of rifling, this is actually a form of class characteristics. Diba? So meaning expected na siya nga kung kini nga brand sa armas is stayer type na siya 4 lands and 4 grooves. Ang iyang twisting is right hand twist, unlance or equal width. Diba? Muni siya ang iyahang kinibang iyahang formula 4-R-G equals L. Diba? So just familiarize this. Again, kining akong ginaisgutan, it's all about class characteristics which could be determined prior sa manufacturing sa armas. So okay. So kung hisgutan ang nasay upat ka lance o group munis ka importante. And of course we have the twisting. Diba? The twisting or the pitch of rifling. Okay? And then of course we have Smith and Wesson type. Ang Smith and Wesson type na siya 5 lance, 5 ka lance, 5 pud ka grooves, di ba? Right hand twist siya. Twisting, kinibang ang twisting kasi has also something to do with gyroscopic stability. Because ang twisting nagdepende na siya sa pag-manufacture or paghimo sa lance and grooves, either right hand or left hand twist. Diba? Kinibang Smith and Wesson, we have 5 lance, 5 grooves, right hand twist. Okay? 5 lance, 5 grooves, right hand twist. Again, these are class characteristics. Of course, we also have Browning type. Diba? Browning type, unom ka grooves. Right hand twist gihapon siya. Browning type. Unom ka lance, unom ka grooves, hand twist. So, right hand twist. So magsugod ta sa stayer type, Smith and Browning type. 4 lance, 4 grooves. Right hand twist, Smith and Wesson, 5 lance, 5 grooves. Right hand twist, Browning type, 6 lance, 6 grooves, right hand twist. Okay. Just familiarize, di ba? Colt type, we have 6 lance, 6 grooves, left hand twist. Di ba? That is the description. 6 lance, 6 groove, left hand twist. We also have Webley type. Di ba? 7 lance, 7 grooves, right hand twist. Okay. So these are the description. Okay. Description. And then we have army type. We have 4 lance, 4 grooves, right hand twist. Okay. Army type. Again, these characteristics are part of the what we call class characteristics, which are determinable prior to the manufacturing of the gun. Okay. And then, of course, okay, we have principles of bullet identification. Principle of bullet identification, basically pareha sa kana bang fingerprint na siya ay dogmatic principle. Ang bullet identification pod or examination nasa pod siya ay dogmatic principle or na pod siya ay principle na gina-follow. Una, the first principle. No two bullets are microscopically identical. Diba? As the surface of their bores possess individual and class characteristic markings of their own. Now, for the issue of kinibang possess individual and class characteristic, actually naani siya class characteristic, di ba? And class characteristic markings of their own. For the issue of individual, this is very important, di ba? Kasi maski kung pariha nga armas ang gigamit, kung kana bang unsay ngalan na kana bang naa siya gitawag nato class characteristic, when I say pariha og brand, pariha og type na armas, considering nga naa siya class characteristics which is beyond the control of the manufacturer, it that makes kana bang different. That is why no two bullets are microscopically identical. Ba dili gid siya perpekto nga pareha gyud. Perpekto nga pareha gyud. Labi na kung maski pareha og model sa firearm, pareha og type sa firearm. Let us say arm score, let us say Smith and Wesson, pareha gyud. However, because of the consideration of the principles of individuality or the what we call individual characteristic, where we are able to discuss in the previous kay naa siya ay own nga marking, di ba? Markings of their own. So again, kung ang fingerprint na ay dogmatic principle, ang bullet identification or examination na pod siya mura pod og dogmatic principle. Number 2, when the bullet is fired from a rifled firearm, okay, it becomes engraved by the rifling, and the engraving may vary from its minute details with every individual bore. So sana siya ikaduha na siya nga prinsipyo gid sa perpekto. The engravation on only pa lang, ang sa engravation pa lang na siya minute, diba? Minute details which might not be of the same characteristic sa bullet nga that was previously fired. Una siyang usahay sa kung isgutan ang inibang bullet recovery box, di ba? Sa inyo naman siguro mo yung bullet recovery box. I do not know kung unsay gamit ba, uton ba, katubang tubig. Ingon sila nga mas appropriate ang katong recovery box nga ang gamit is tubig kasi expected nga dili kayo ma-deform, pero katong box type yun nga naay separator usahay pagawa sa kana bang bullet di ba di ba di ba, or wala man galing na platin buo pa, but due to the side portions of that bullet recovery box, it may cause some sort of striations and some sort of markings which might not which provide a huge difference as to the question bullets. Okay, so inalala siya when the bullet is fired from a rifle firearms. Kung mag-iskutag rifle firearms, nagpasabot nga naay lance and grooves. Okay, it becomes engraved by the rifling, and the engraving may vary from its minute details, di ba? Remember that we have to view it in a bullet comparison microscope, di ba? And then of course the number 4 or the number 3 principle is every bar mark, di ba? On every bullet will mark. Actually, this is not so 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 this is not supposedly uh, 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 strange identification, meaning naasiyay individual nga kana bang characteristics, di ba? Every barrel leaves its mark on every bullet which fired through it, di ba? Kada barrel daw naasiyay kaugalingon nga strange or in a minute details kung imo na i-examine sa microscope. Back to the first principle nga walay two bullets are microscopically identical, di ba? Because of the principle of individuality. Okay? Okay? So those are the dogmatic principle yan. Dogmatic principle of the kinibang dogmatic principle of the firearm identification. So we will have the types of problems encountered by a forensic or ballistic examiner. Okay? So most of ni inyong ma-encounter puhon if you will be able to be part of the SOCO or the NBI or any kana bang government agencies nga lugar kung isgutan ang firearms examination. Okay? Problem number 1. Okay? Problem number 1. Given a bullet. So sa number 1 naay bullet, di ba? Naay bullet. Ang purpose sa presensya sa bullet is to determine the caliber and the type of firearm from which it was fired. Yeah? Given a bullet to determine the caliber, unsa nga kalibre sa firearms o type from which it was fired. Diba? That is problem number 1. Number 2, okay? Given a fired cartridge case. So ganina bullet, karon cartridge case. Diba? Cartridge case to determine the caliber and the type of firearm from which it was fired. So gikan sa bullet, it's already a cartridge case, fired cartridge case. Actually, kung mag-iskutag cartridge case, wala na siya slug, wala na siya projectile. Kaso lang, just to make it more, just to have it emphasize, fired cartridge case. Di ba? To determine the caliber, unsa nga kalibre, and as well as the type of firearm from which it was fired. Okay, that is problem number 2. Ang problem number 3, given a bullet Okay? Unsuspected firearm. Di ba? Suspected firearm, meaning to say, kung mag-iskutag suspected firearm, probably muni siya ang firearm nga na-confiscate in the follow-up operation. Say for example, na ay crime kana bang crime nga nahitabo, shooting incidents. Ang nakuha lang was a cartridge case, where cartridge cases, and of course there was slug extracted from the body of the victim. So in the follow-up operation of the CIDG, they were able to apprehend the suspect, and then subsequently, aside from apprehending, or right after apprehending rather, they were able to kinibang confiscate the alleged caliber 45 that was in the possession of the suspect when he was apprehended. Okay, so ang buhaton karon naanay bullet, di ba? Suspected firearm. So meaning to say, a bullet which is the a question bullet nga nakuha dito sa crime scene, and then here is a suspected firearms, ang buhaton is to have that suspected firearms fire through the bullet recovery box in order to determine whether or not the bullet that was fired from, or the bullet nga nakuha dito sa crime scene was fired from the suspected firearm. Okay, so naay bullets, naay cartridge, ay slug nga nakuha, and then naay suspected firearm nga na-confiscate sa CIDG. Ang buhaton sa examiner, iyang ipabuto ang suspected firearm dito sa bullet recovery box, and then right after, he will have this comparison of the bullet. Basically, to determine whether or not kanang bullet was fired from the suspected firearm. So, the establishment of kana bang i-establish ang connections sa nakuha nga firearm dito sa kana bang suspect ug sa bala nga nakuha sa crime scene. Okay? So, given a bullet and a suspected firearm, to determine whether or not the bullet was fired from the suspected firearm. Okay? That is problem number 3. So we have problem number 1, nagisgot siya bullet. Problem number 2, nagisgot siya fire cartridge. Problem number 3, nagisgot og bullet and suspected firearm. Okay? Problem number 4, given a fire cartridge case. So the cartridge case nakuha sa crime scene. Okay? And then suspected firearm. Diba? To determine whether or not the cartridge case was fired from that suspected firearm. So ganina bullets yun. Ganina siya, bullets to siya, ganina. Karon, of course, we have kana bang suspected cartridge case to determine whether or not the cartridge case was fired from that suspected firearm. So, of course, if it is caliber 45 automatic, so kung ma-establish ang positivity, nga positive nga ang nakuha sa follow-up operation nga kana bang sa ngalan na nakuha nga mga bala ni fit sa bala nga gi-compare sa right after the bullet recovery box kana bang process ni fit basically, or taas ang chance pod nga when it comes to cartridge case mao gihapon, di ba? Mao gihapon. That is problem number 4, di ba? Number 4. Then ang problem number 5, given 2 or more bullets, di ba? To determine whether or not if they were fired from the from only one firearm. So duha or sobra sa duha nga bullets aron madeterminar kung kana nga mga bullets gipabuto ba siya sa isa ra ka armas, and that is very important as far as the investigation is concerned. Kasi kung dili sila ang two or more bullets na nakita nga gikan sa nagkalailain nga armas, nagpasabot nga there were more perpetrator, or naay daghan sila nga nagpabuto in that particular crime scene. Dili lang isa, kundi duha or tulo. Labi na gid kung tulo ka klaseng nga kana bang bullets nakita nga lahi og characteristics, lahi og kalibre, di ba? Of course, basically, the investigator will be able to establish that it was not only one suspect. Posible nga naay duha, naay tulo, except kung pareha nga Ricardo sa kana bang probinsyano nga tagurha kabuk armas ang gamiton. So it's exceptional, di ba? So kung daghan bullets nga lahi-lahi og kalibre, lahi-lahi og characteristics, lahi-lahi og kana bang nagpasabot nga daghan or dili lang isa ang perpetrator. It could be more. Okay? By its purpose alone to determine whether or not they were fired from only one firearms. Of course, kung ang gihatag nga tulo or more than 3 firearms, o more than 3 bullets, unya ni fit or bali naay kana bang pariha sa bullet nga question or sa bullet nga standard, of course, nagpasabot nga there was only one firearm being used in the perpetration of crime. So that is, or this is problem number 5. Problem number 5. We also have problem number 4, number 5. And of course, we have problem number 6. Given 2 or more cartridge case to determine whether or not they were fired from only one firearm. So makita ninyo ang sequence, di ba? Ang sequence o na bullets, fire cartridge case, isa lang. Ikaduha, we have bullets, suspected firearms. Ang ikaapat, we have cartridge case and suspected firearms. Ang ikalima, 2 or more bullets and suspected firearms, or 2 or more bullets. So determine nga isa ra ba or daghan nga firearms ang gigamit. Ang number 6, we have given 2 or more cartridge case to determine whether or not they were fired from only one firearm. So these are actually the problems kini bang being solved by a forensic ballistician or forensic examiner, di ba? Okay. Now, adto ta sa Provision of Republic Act 8294. Okay? 8294. Okay? Sa 8294, mao na siya ang bag-o nga balaod nga nag-amend sa Presidential Decree 866, the old law, di ba? Presidential Decree 866, mo na to siya ang bag-o nga balaod. By the way, kung mag-iskutag Republic Acts, Presidential Decrees, these are actually the what we call the special laws, di ba? Special laws. Kung mag-iskuta o revised penal code, again, this is different from special laws, di ba? Kasi kung mag-iskuta o capital punishment for a special law, this is life sentence. Life sentence. Kung mag-iskuta o capital punishment for revised penal code, that is only with the maximum of 40 years. Diba? I know that Sir Morong has dissected that already in your review, special laws and presidential decrees. Ang Republic Act 8294, that is the new law, amending Presidential Decree 866, which is the old law. We have Section 1. Section 1. unlawful manufacture, sale, acquisition, paghimo, di ba? Unlawful meaning walay lisensya nga paghimo, pagpabaligya, pag-acquire, sale, pag-dispose or pag-possess of firearms, armas or ammunitions, di ba? So muna siya ang amendment sa Presidential Decree 866, di ba? Ammunitions, firearms, ammunition, or instrument use, di ba? Katong mga tools nga gamiton sa pagbangag sa buka, paghimo sa frame, paghimo sa instrument use or intended to be used, di ba? Nga para unta gamiton. Say for example, we have chemicals para sa pagkaroon og pintal sa armas intended to be used in the manufacture of firearms or ammunition. Diba? So, ang balaod, very explicitly, the law explicitly provide, particularly on Section 1 of Republic Act 8294, the new law amending Presidential Decree 1866, which is the old law. Diba? Now, I know that you are very familiar already with the range or the penalty of prison correctional, yeah? And its maximum period, okay? And its maximum period and fine of not less than 15,000, diba? 15,000, diba? Una, pag manufacture, baliko na ako, manufacture, sale, acquisition, disposition, possession of firearms, ammunition, instrument use, paghimo, intended to be used, maski katong wala pagamita, pero ang purpose is for the manufacturing of the firearm and ammunition. So, ang penalty is prison correctional. Diba? We have that prison correctional. And as well as maximum period of not less than 15,000. Not maximum, kanabang fine shall be imposed upon person who shall unlawfully manufacture. Okay, kana siya, deal in, acquire, dispose, possess. Diba? Low-powered pa lang na siya, low-powered firearm. Katong mga pistola, katong mga gagmay, di ba? Dili siya high-powered firearm. Diba? Low-powered firearm. Dili siya such as, so kini siya, rimfire handgun. Diba? 38.380 or 32.32. And other firearm similar firepower. Part of firearm, ammunitions, or machinery. Okay? Ang gitawag na part of firearm, katubang di ba sa administrative katong sa definition sa firearm nga ang buka sa armas is already tantamount or equivalent to the whole firearm. Kini siya part of firearm lang. Part of firearm. Any part of firearm, ammunition, or machinery, tool, instrument use intended to be used for the manufacture of firearms, ammunition, provided that no crime was committed. So sa bago na siya nga balaod actually. Bago na siya nga balaod. Nga so long as nag-manufacture lang, nag-sale lang, nag-acquire, nag-dispose, nag-possess of firearms or ammunition, instrument to be used sa small low power firearm provided nga walay krimen nga nahitabo or walay wala gigamit sa pag-perpetuate sa krimen, mo lang na siya ang penalty. Diba? That is Section 1 of Republic Act 8294. 8294. Okay? Another one, the penalty of prison mayor. and its maximum period. Okay? So 30,000 na ang fine. 30,000 ang fine. Shall be imposed if the firearm at the same and 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 at the same time kana bang prison mayor ang penalty taas na kaysa sa prison correctional. So includes those which bores bigger in diameter than 38. So mas taas ang bore, mas taas ang 38, di ba? Caliber 9 millimeter as caliber 40. So muna siya ang tag-as sa compared sa 38 o 9 millimeter 9 mm. Caliber 40, caliber 40, caliber 45 and also firearms but not considered powerful such as 357, di ba? Okay. Caliber 22 centerfire magnum, okay, and other firearms which firing capability of full automatic. Yeah, so full automatic siya. And burst to twice o burst by burst of twice or three, di ba? Mo karat, di ba? Provided that no other crime was committed by person arrested. So katulang plain lang nga possession sa high-powered firearms. Mo ni siya ang inibang penalty in its period and fine of 30,000 pesos. So and fine of 30,000 pesos. Okay? Then dayon the penalty of arresto mayor shall be imposed upon any person who shall carry a license, di ba? Any license, firearms outside his residence without legal authority. Natay LTAP, di ba? License to possess and permit to carry, di ba? Ang license to possess kung wala ko masayo, lisensya lang nga makapossess ka sa imong armas with restrictions nga ang possession nimo is only limited sa imuhang nagpasabot nga ang dili na siya implied nga to carry, diba? So if lisensyado, but if you do not have the outside your residence and be charged accordingly to mayor shall be imposed against any individual who possess license. However, walay license permit to carry nga pwede nila dadon ang armas sa gawas. Okay? So this is the penalty of arresto mayor shall be imposed upon any person who shall carry any licensed firearms, meaning na ay license to possess outside his residence without legal authority. Meaning wala permit to carry. If homicide or murder is committed with the use of unlicensed firearms, such use of an unlicensed firearm shall be considered as an aggravating unlicensed. Ang pag-commit o ang pag-perpetuate sa krimen such as murder or homicide is committed through unlicensed firearms. Okay? And then the perpetrator was prosecuted. Of course, the use of arms will serve as an aggravating circumstance. Okay, I know that your instructor in yung law subject already dissected the different circumstances. We have aggravating, justifying, exempting. Yeah, aggravating circumstance. Kung mag-iskutag aggravating circumstance, of course, that will actually elevate or that will actually add or that will actually, yeah, add the penalty since the firearm used to perpetuate the crime was unlicensed. Unlicensed. Okay? That is for crime of murder. Okay? Okay. If the violation of this section, we are referring to section 1, is in furtherance or of or incident to or in connection with the crime of rebellion or insurrection, crime against kini bang fundamental law of the state, di ba? Rebellion, insurrection, sedition, kudita, such violation shall be absorbed as an element of the crime of rebellion. Okay? So, kung ang pagposes sa armas sa tao outside his residence is in connection with the crime of rebellion, dala-dala siya armas tungod kay napamatud-an nga siya usa ka rebelde, insurrection, sedition, kudita, such violation shall be absorbed as an element of crime of rebellion, insurrection, sedition, or attempted kudita. Okay, so that's it. Now, I understand nga naana tay Human Security Act. Just browse the provision of Human Security Act because as far as I know, if I am not, wala ko masayop, the crime of rebellion, di ba, was already absorbed by the Human Security Act of 2000, katong bag-o nga Human Security Act. Okay? So that is in section 1, section 1. Okay? Kini siya, section 5. Okay? Section 5, coverage of the term of unlicensed firearms. Okay? Kana bang ang licensed the term unlicensed firearms shall include una, firearms with expired license. Of course, kung expired na ang lisensya, of course, ang imuhang pagposes or ang pagposes sa individual sa firearms with expired license constitute, okay, kini bang illegal possession. Ngano man, unang-una, unlicensed man siya. Unlicensed firearms. So kung madakpan ka, unya dili lisensyado ang imong lisensyado ang imong armas, however expired, of course that will still constitute illegal possession of firearms, diba? Firearms with expired license, meaning ang imong pagpossess considering expired na ang date or ang duration sa imuhang license to possess will now be considered as illegal. Okay, and then of course we have unauthorized use of licensed firearms in the commission of crime. Unauthorized use of licensed firearms in the commission of crime. Lisensyado tuod ang armas, however, it was used to perpetuate or to commit crimes. That's still part of the coverage of the classification of an unlicensed firearms. In effect, illegal ang imuhang paggamit. Meaning to say, kung nag-possess ka og armas, the mere possession or the actual possession or the licensed firearms, meaning you acquired it legally and you have it possessed with license, and of course even if it is with permit to carry, it does not follow nga you already have a license to kill, di ba? So kung naa kay armas nga lisensyado, naa kay pero magpasabot nga doon na pod kay license to kill, di ba? Somebody without any balay, di ba? Di ba?